What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Pack a Day podcast here on YouTube. I'm your host, Andy Herman. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL and the podcast at Pack a Day Podcast. Today, I'm going to be doing my very first mock draft. I haven't done one in writing. I haven't done one, period. So this is going to be my very first one. I'm going to do part one today, picks 1 through 16, and then I'll finish up tomorrow, picks 17 through 32, unless there's, an amazing Packers free agent that they sign, and I have a really fun episode to break down that signing tomorrow. Then I will maybe have to wait a couple days until I get to part two. But as of right now, my plan is today to go through picks 1 through 16 and tomorrow to go through 17 through 32. So let's start right away, of course, with picks 1 and 2, which seem to be at this point a foregone conclusion, right? Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars, It seems like this is why, why ultimately Urban Meyer took this position as head coach, so that he could have Trevor Lawrence and build this franchise up and have his franchise quarterback. It just doesn't seem like anything is going to change that. And it seems, again, like this is ultimately a foregone conclusion. I would say it's about 99.9% sure, maybe 99% sure. I'll leave open a 1% window that maybe they get second guess and have some questions and maybe look at Zach Wilson. I know Aaron Nagler posted recently and he said that he thinks Zach Wilson is QB1 in this draft. And I responded back to him and I said, frankly, as somebody who, covers this draft from a Packers standpoint, and is going to want to try to dive into as many prospects as I possibly can, me spending a ton of time on Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence doesn't make a ton of sense. So I've watched 3 games of all 22 on both of them. I've watched some specific clips that I wanted to see, read up on both of them. And my initial reaction was the same. I personally think that if I had to just go based off of that alone, which is not enough, period, to make a decision on a franchise-altering quarterback, right? But my gut reaction said Zach Wilson as well. Now, they're both very talented quarterbacks and play very different styles, and both of them should be franchise quarterbacks for a very long time. And I'm very thankful that I'm not in the position to have to choose between the two, because I think... I think both of them are talented, and I guess you want to be in that position, but I think it's almost easier to be at pick 2 and just be able to decide, pick the easy one after that, instead of pick 1 and having to choose between the two. But again, it seems like a very much a foregone conclusion that Trevor Lawrence is going to go 1 and Zach Wilson is going to go number 2 to the Jets. I love this pick for both teams. I think this sets up both of these franchises for future success. It's the Jaguars and the Jets, so they'll ultimately probably find ways to screw this up. But, and I'm hoping for both Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence and the state of the league that both of these franchises don't mess this up and can really utilize both of these players to the best of their abilities, because they're both fantastically talented and both could be, 2-decade-long quarterbacks for these two franchises. So here's hoping for the best for both of those, but it seems like that's the foregone conclusion. Now, pick 3. We know it's going to be a quarterback. We know that San Francisco traded aggressively up and really kind of turned the draft on its head a little bit. The question seems to be, at this point, is it Mac Jones or is it Trey Lance? And everything that we are hearing at this point seems to be that it's Mac Jones. And I have no reason to believe at this point that it's not Mac Jones. However, personally, I don't think you trade up that much draft capital for Mac Jones. And, what's Mac Jones' ceiling? A better Jimmy Garoppolo, a Kirk Cousins, maybe a prime Matt Ryan, which, to be fair, won an MVP, got to a Super Bowl. And if you said that they believe that he's the next Matt Ryan, okay, I could understand maybe making this move, but it just seems ultra aggressive for a quarterback that maybe doesn't have the insane upside. Now, in Kyle Shanahan's system, being able to read defenses, get the ball out of your hands, and let your weapons do the work has a ton of value. And you can make an argument that Mac Jones doing those sort of things might be the best in this class, again, at reading defenses and being able to make accurate throws to get it in the hands of his playmakers, as well as getting rid of the football. So there's a lot to like about Mac Jones, but to me, you have to have some sort of upside to make this sort of move if you're San Francisco. I'm going to say, for the purposes of the mock today, San Francisco number 3 overall, Trey Lance, quarterback, North Dakota State. I'm not insanely high on Trey Lance. You go to the 2 games, both his championship game last season and then his 1 game this year, which was going to be a showcase game. didn't play well in either of them, and really played poorly in his one game this season. And, part of that you have to chalk up to it's their one game. They weren't practiced. They're playing against, Central Arkansas, who had already played a handful of games. It wasn't an ideal situation, but that's a home game against a bad team in your spotlight game, and you didn't, perform well at all. So I do have some question marks, but there's undeniably a huge talent disparity between Mac Jones and Trey Lance. And I easily think it could be, Trey Lance played in that North Dakota State offense, which has some similarities to the Kyle Shanahan system. So I'm going to go with number 3, Trey Lance, 49ers, but it could easily be Mac Jones. Number 4, I'm going quarterback back. I am going with Justin Fields to the Atlanta Falcons here. I just think Fields is a really nice player. I kind of see him as a Dak Prescott type of player, to be honest. I think he's a little bit more athletic than Dak, but I see him have a very similar type of style to his plays, to his quarterbacking. He holds the ball way too long, and he's going to have to figure out a way in the NFL to decipher defenses quicker and get the ball out of his hands. But he's accurate, great deep ball. He's athletic. He's powerful. He has a lot of traits that you would really like. There's no question that Atlanta has to figure out a developmental quarterback, and I think this is a great spot for Justin Fields. Maybe not as great as it would be to go to the 49ers, but to get to sit behind Matt Ryan, not have to play right away, to have some time to develop, and I just think this is a really smart move for Atlanta, and I think it's a good landing spot for Justin Fields. Number 5, I am going 5 straight quarterbacks, and you might say, Andy, the Bengals don't need a quarterback, and they don't, but there is a team that is in desperate need of a quarterback and is going to do everything they can to get up and get their guy, whether it's Trey Lance here, whether it's Justin Fields, whether it's Mac Jones, who's ever left available. In this case, it's Mac Jones. I'm going to say that the Chicago Bears aggressively trade up to the 5th overall pick to get that last remaining quarterback. Again, back-to-back quarterbacks in this draft. The Bears trade up using their first-round pick, the 20th overall, as well as 2 future first-round picks to get up to pick 5 and select Mac Jones in this scenario. If Jones goes 3, then either Lance or Fields goes 4, and the Bears select whichever one is left. I don't think they care at this point. This, to me, is the only way that they have some ability to kind of say, you know what, we're buying ourselves some more time. Mitch didn't pan out, but we are going up and we're getting our guy. It plays out perfectly. Dalton, plays for half the season, doesn't do well. You make the switch halfway through the season. You hope that whoever they pick here at number 5, in this case, Mac Jones, comes in, shows some potential, maybe wins a few games and saves Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy their jobs. I just think they have to do something aggressive. And this is really, in my opinion, the last opportunity to do so. Maybe they could trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, but you've got Andy Dalton. Is there really that much of a difference? And you've already promised Andy Dalton the job. So I'm going to say they trade up and get Mac Jones in this scenario, giving away a couple first-round picks. Bengals move back to pick 20. Number 6, the Miami Dolphins. It feels like they're going weapon here. Is it going to be Pitts? Is it going to be Devontae Smith? Is it going to be Jamar Chase? I'm actually going Jalen Waddle here, and I think the familiarity playing with Tua Tagovailoa plays a part here, but also just every team is looking for that speed demon to really open up their offense and give a stretch player down the field to open up things, in this case for Gesicki and really the rest of that Dolphins offense. So I'm going to go Jalen Waddle, number 6 overall here to the Dolphins. Again, love him being able to team with Tagovailoa again, and just think that this is one of those pieces that opens up your offense and maybe brings something to the table that they don't already have with their current wide receiver group. So Jalen Waddle, number 6 overall. Number 7, Detroit Lions. Would certainly have to be tempting to pair Pitts here with TJ Hawkinson, but that's an awful lot of draft capital at the tight end position. And you know what? The Lions and their history, they love picking themselves some wide receivers early in the draft. I'm going to go Jamar Chase, number 7 overall, try to recreate some Kelvin Johnson magic. He's not Kelvin Johnson, but he is a hell of a good receiver. And, when you have a Jared Goff, who, remember, they believe in. He's still a younger quarterback. They wanted Jared Goff in that trade. It wasn't just a throw-in. They wanted Jared Goff. Now, I don't know why, but they wanted him. And if you believe in Jared Goff, or maybe they believe in Tim Boyle like I do, and either way, you need receivers for him. He needs some high-end weapons in order to make him successful. And Jamar Chase is that player in this scenario. So Jamar Chase, number 7 overall to the Detroit Lions. That leaves the Panthers with pick 8. They have a massive gap at the tight end position. I'm going to go Kyle Pitts here. He's just too good of a value to pass up. The Panthers miss out on their quarterback to replace Teddy Bridgewater long term, but they get, to me, the best weapon in this draft. He is, to me, a Randy Moss style tight end where he's just, and I'm not saying he's going to go up and moss people and be like that, but he's that rare of a player where I think he is going to be a ultimate weapon at that position for years to come. I think he has the ability to go down as the greatest tight end of all time. I think he has that type of potential. Now, those are lofty expectations for a tight end, and you always have to remember that tight ends have not exactly come in gangbusters in the league, and it usually takes some time to develop. Call him a big ass wide receiver. Doesn't even matter. He is a weapon through and through, and to me, the best one in this draft. Panthers get a steal. Kyle Pitts, pick 8. Number 9, the Broncos are set to pick here, but the Bengals, who moved down to 20, are actually going to move back up using some of that draft capital that they got from the Bears to get to pick 9. They get their guy in Penei Sewell, offensive tackle from the University of Oregon, to really help solidify that offensive line for Joe Burrow. They still pick up picks in the trade with the Bears. They still get their guy at pick 9, solidify that offensive line. Love this move for the Bengals. Meanwhile, the Broncos, who could use an influx of young talent still, they're not going to get their quarterback this year. So by being able to pick up some future first-round picks in this trade, or a future first-round pick in this trade, I think it makes a ton of sense. Broncos move back to pick 20, where the Bears were initially selecting. Bengals get their guy in Penei Sewell. Cowboys pick 10. I'm going Jalen Phillips, fresh off a very good pro day for him. I think he's going to solidify himself as the number 1 edge rusher in this draft, and Dallas needs to get and generate pressure on the quarterback. They need an influx of talent at the position. I know they have DeMarcus Lawrence, but being able to put somebody on the opposite side that can get to the quarterback as well is sorely needed to help Lawrence as well. I'm going to go Jalen Phillips here, and I think they start remaking this defense by getting to the quarterback with Jalen Phillips and DeMarcus Lawrence. Number 11, New York Giants. They are going to love physical players in the trenches or just at the point of attack. And to me, Micah Parsons, physical, athletic freak. This screams New York Giants pick. They've already got the Penn State prodigy in Saquon Barkley on the other side of the ball. Now they get one in Micah Parsons on defense. 11th overall pick, New York Giants, Micah Parsons, linebacker, Penn State. Number 12, we're going to stay in the Big Ten, the Philadelphia Eagles. We saw what happened last year when their offensive line was obliterated by injuries. Now, they should have a lot of guys coming back, and they've developed some depth at the position because so many players had to play a season ago. But I just think you saw how quickly that team spiraled out of control, and you have to be able to protect Jalen Hurts if you want him to have any level of success. I'm going to go Rashawn Slater, offensive lineman for Northwestern. If you're not confident in left tackle with either Andre Dillard, or whomever you could potentially start there, I think you could start at left tackle. You can move him around. He could play a variety of different positions. Either guard position is available. I just think this helps solidify the offensive line for the Eagles, which has a ton of value for them at this point in time. Number 13, the LA Chargers. I'm going Devontae Smith. I think this is a really great landing spot for him. You pair him with Justin Herbert and you give Herbert an absolute playmaker. Don't overthink Devontae Smith. Don't care about the size. Don't care about the 40. Don't care about anything. He is an absolute playmaker at the position. Love Devontae Smith. And I think pairing him with Justin Herbert for the future would be just way too fun to watch. This is one that I am hoping like hell happens because I want to see Herbert to Devontae Smith for the next 8 to 10 years. Just sign me the hell up. 14, Minnesota Vikings. They need edge help badly. So I'm going to go Kwity Paye, edge rusher, University of Michigan. Maybe they get Danielle Hunter back. Maybe they don't. I think there's still some questions in the air, but either way, they need help there. And I think Kwity Paye gives them the right amount of athleticism, the right ability to set the edge, get off the corner, rush the passer. I think he would be a very nice complement to Danielle Hunter if he's back. And if he's not, again, even all the more reason you have to go edge rusher here. So Kwity Paye, edge rusher, University of Michigan to the Minnesota Vikings. Number 15, I'm going to have the Patriots trading down with the Tennessee Titans here. The Titans move up. They lost Adoree Jackson. They lost Malcolm Butler. They have their pick of corners in this draft. And I'm going to go with J.C. Horn, cornerback, South Carolina. I think they need a playmaker at this position. And I think J.C. Horn is an alpha male at the position, wants to guard everyone on the field, doesn't matter who it is. And I think he brings a playmaking element to that secondary for Tennessee, something they sorely need, especially again with losing Butler and Adoree Jackson this past offseason. Patriots move back and they will pick, when I do this tomorrow, at, pick 22. So they pick up some picks from Tennessee in this trade. Again, Tennessee gets their pick of their favorite corner in the draft. Number 16, we're going to start seeing some corners go off the board here. The Arizona Cardinals select Patrick Surtain, cornerback from Alabama. They lose Patrick Peterson in free agency to Minnesota. They have some okay depth at the position, but they could use a high-end player. I think Patrick Surtain makes a ton of sense here. They get I think arguably the top corner in the draft at pick 16. I think that's great value. They still have their pick between Surtain, Farley, Greg Newsome, amongst others here, even though J.C. Horn's off the board. And again, I'm going to go Patrick Surtain, corner from Alabama for the Arizona Cardinals. That's going to do it for me. I will potentially wrap this up tomorrow with the last 16 picks, including the Packers pick. So make sure to tune in tomorrow and subscribe if you haven't already. That does it for me today. Until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.